One of the things that I disagree with Ben Shapiro most strongly on, and I just want to be clear, I don't hate Ben Shapiro at all, and we disagree, obviously, on the use of force, on Israel strongly, but that doesn't make me emotional. Ben is looking at the world from a completely different perspective, which I reject, but I'm not mad about it. What makes me mad is the way that he describes the United States as like this economic zone, totally divorced from the actual people who live there and their customs and their history and their instincts and their connections to each other and to regions, to physical reality. He has no regard for that at all in the way that big companies have no regard for that at all. Like, shut up and freeze your eggs and get back to work. And I feel like that's dehumanizing. Doesn't quite describe that attitude. It's an attitude that doesn't see people as human and in the service of what? Making money? I mean, it's everything about that I dislike. I feel like that's never challenged on the right. Increasingly, it's not challenged on the left either. It used to be big time, less and less. But certainly on the right, anyone who challenges it is derided as a socialist. I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't think I'm a socialist, never have been. But I don't think that we should tell people that they have no right to live in the town where they were born. Like, okay, so who are we serving here? What is the point of this exercise? To maximize profits to you? Like what? I don't know. Like, what is that?
Well, the first thing I thought of as I listened to Ben Shapiro make that argument was, oh, so I shouldn't have the ability to stay close to my family?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, think about what ties you to the community you live in, right? The community you grew up in. It's your family. It's your friends. It's your job. A lot of people aren't able to work remotely. And part of the reason why it's so expensive to live in, some of these cities or the most expensive parts of this country is because whether we like it or not, a lot of the jobs are concentrated there. So I would love nothing more than to live in a part of the country that isn't as overcrowded as LA is, to be honest with you. Like, I want to be in nature. I want a little more of a rural experience, but I don't have that luxury because
Right.
I do have to work and my job is located here in Los Angeles. And any other media job I want, unless I work for myself, is going to be in a big city like New York. So it's just this really interesting idea. Like, I don't think most Americans are walking around feeling entitled. Like, most Americans aren't thinking to themselves, hey, you know what? I'm a bum and I sit on the couch all day and I don't make any money, but I deserve to live in a multi-million-dollar mansion paid for by the United States government. No, there are countless Americans in this country who work more than 40 hours a week and still can't make ends meet. Something is broken in the system, and putting the onus on Americans and making them out to be lazy bums is what offends me the most, to be honest.
Well, sure. When Ben Shapiro says blaming the system rather than blaming yourself, your own lack of creativity, initiative, intelligence, whatever your problem is immoral. And that is a kind of long-time refrain on the so-called right. And there are things about it that I agree with. I do think you should blame yourself first. I'm trying to force myself to be in the habit of that. I did something wrong. I'm going to admit it. I think that's really important for the sake of preserving your soul. And also, by the way, you get credibility when you're honest about yourself. It's easy to be honest about other people. You're fat, but it's hard to say I'm fat, right? So like, I agree with it on one level, but it's also just not true. Like, we are subject to forces that we can't control. It's just a fact. I didn't write the tax code, for example. I don't have any control over the hiring standards at various companies or the admission standards at various schools. Those are systemic problems. It's just a fact. They are systems. Those are rules written by other people over which I have no control. So for Ben Shapiro to say, it's outrageous, it's a conspiracy theory to blame the system, does make me suspect maybe you're a beneficiary of a system that you can't actually defend. And so you're attacking me for asking questions about that system. That's just my reaction to what he said.
I mean, it comes across that way for sure. Obviously, I don't know what the motivations of Ben Shapiro really happen to be. What I do know is that when it comes to government handouts, he never really seems to have a problem with the government handouts that get sent abroad to other countries. You get what I'm saying? So there's that. But, the other thing is, even if you're doing well, even if you're affluent, do you really want to live in a country where as soon as you walk outside your door, there's a massive homeless encampment?
Oh, I agree.
Do you really want to live in a country like that? Because I don't. Do you want to live in a country where close to 100,000 of your fellow Americans are dying of drug overdoses and our government seems to not really care much and, in fact, exploits that as a talking point to justify a potential war with Venezuela, which has nothing to do with fentanyl, by
That's
the
for
way?
sure. I know.
So,
Yeah, actually, last question on this, but I just want to clear it up. So, we played that tape of Ben, attacking me because I really like Venezuela's anti-usury laws. Sorry, I do. I don't think you should charge 600% interest annually on a payday loan. I don't think that should be allowed. Period. So,
agree.
I guess I'm a socialist, but I think it's predatory and cruel, and it's slavery. So no, but in that litany, he said, Maduro's bad. Okay, I'm sure. He's dictatorial, seems to be, and he's importing fentanyl into the United States. Not meaningfully true,
Not true.
probably true in some, but he's not. Venezuela is not the main source of fentanyl in the United States. It's not even close. That's Mexico. So established, like that's not true what he said. So what is the motive in regime changing Maduro and to toppling the government of Venezuela? What is the motive there? Do you know?
And that is true. Like, I tell people all the time that this whole notion that get up, work hard, just keep grinding, and somehow your life will be a lot more better. To a certain degree, that is correct, but that is not the entire story. Um, Look across the world, okay? All those people who have made billions were helped in one way or the other. Laws were put in place to help some companies get ahead. Tax break were given to some companies. Some entrepreneurs got special grant to kickstart their businesses. Some areas were reserved for some particular startup, and those startups didn't need to pay taxes in their starting years or earlier years. Some of them paid no taxes. Some of them operated in an industrial zone that uh, was way more affordable, or they got a lot of stuff for free. So most of the times, rules are put in place to help people get ahead. If you live in a country where those rules are always against you, where those rules are in such a way that it's difficult for the common person to get ahead, you won't get ahead no matter how hard you work. You won't get ahead. If you live in a country in Africa where you earn little to nothing as salary, but you are supposed to buy every single thing you need for survival, and those things are super, super expensive because of greedy business people, then how can you get ahead in such a scenario? How can you get ahead? Would you say that you would deprive yourself of certain food just so you can save a nickel or a dime? Is that what you're gonna do? Would you say that you're gonna, I don't know, work from morning till night and don't sleep just so you can have enough money in your pocket to afford food? Is that what you're gonna do? Or would it be better if the government steps in and put in place rules or policies that help common people get ahead? Maybe they offer subsidies to those importers or manufacturers so that the price of basic necessities like rice and beans and fish can be brought down. Maybe they offer tax incentives to companies so that they can increase the wages of their employees. There are so many things that the government can do to help common people. But for people like Ben Shapiro, that is socialism. That is the government getting to involve. That is the government trying to, I don't know, spoil people. According to him, his whole solution to this issue is just for you to pack up your things and move to a place where no one living. That will solve your own problem. And I asked this question in a previous video, and let me just ask the question one more time. You know, things change with time, right? And cities do develop with time. And if I cannot afford a big city today and pack up my things and move to a smaller or less developed city, what guarantees do I have that in 10 years from now, that small city, that less developed city, won't be as developed as my current city? What guarantees do I have? And if my less developed city, or if the city I moved to became as developed as this one, and I cannot afford it because the billionaires and the special interests came in and spoiled everything for everyone, will I have to pack up and move again? Is that what I am supposed to do? Or will the government step in and say, no, we cannot keep on doing this? We cannot keep on making the lives of common people way more harder than it is supposed to be. And by so doing, we have to do something to help these common people. Is the government expected to do something like that? I mean, I'm not talking about a welfare state. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the government putting policies in place that help common people get ahead in life. But if there's one thing we have all learned throughout our days on this earth, is that more too often the government doesn't do things that benefit common people. The government doesn't care about common people. You and I, we don't matter. All the government care about is the elite. All the government care about is the special interest group. All they care about is themselves. They make deals that benefits only them. There was this situation in Nigeria where common people were protesting for an increase in their minimum wage. And this protest has been ongoing for, I think, weeks or months. And lawmakers were just dragging their feet on the issue. They were dancing back and forth whether to increase it or not, and if they were to increase it, by how much. This was an ongoing and never-ending debate. They were just dancing in circles. But then something happened. There was a bill tabled to increase the benefit of the lawmakers. And it quickly became very clear to all of us who were following this issue very closely that we, the common people, did not really matter at all. In fact, we had this perception that somehow these people kind of, I don't know, maybe in a weird way would want us to survive. At least they don't care about us, but they will try their best to pretend as if they do. And we thought they were going to keep that pretense going. But what they did unveiled who they really are. In fact, it just helped to confirm our perception about them. Lawmakers went through the bill that had them getting more benefit in no time, and they passed the bill. They gave themselves more benefits, more money. And the bill that was supposed to increase minimum wage, well, they were still working on that one. That was exactly what they did. And people were like, wow, wow, wow. Thank God, thank God, thank God. You have shown us your real self. And that is a great thing. That is really, really a great thing.